What up, people? So, a few days ago, I told you about how, in a socially responsible way, Kylie Jenner is setting the example by staying home and inviting her millions of followers to do the same. And well, the truth is that the isolation would be much more bearable for many of us if we have a mansion like her. Don't you agree? But if you believe that Kylie and her sisters were the only residents of Calabasas, California who weren't having a complicated quarantine at all, you better stay with us, cause I'm gonna tell you all about the humble house where the family of the Pinkett Smiths have stayed during this pandemic. And don't forget to subscribe to Curious Sips and turn on the notifications to be up to date with our new videos. So are you guys ready? Let's begin. Yo, there's no doubt that one of the most solid and therefore long-lived marriages in Hollywood is that of Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith. There's a reason why they have become a role model for many other couples who also inspire to have a long-term relationship. But wait, would you believe me if I told you that in the beginnings, things were not that easy at all? In fact, Will had to go through a very difficult moment in his love life before finding true love in the person he shares with his life. So in one of the interviews in 2018, Will talked about how his life had been before he met Jada, and according to his words, he was more than determined to go to the show that she was in with the sole purpose of seeing her. However, as often that it happens in life, their fate had some other plans for them. Another woman was about to conquer the heart of Will first before Jada. Of course, we are talking about Sheree Zampino, who was not only charmed with the 24-year-old Will, but she even made him decide to take things to the next level and marry her in 1992. Unfortunately for Will at the time, his marriage with Zampino was one of the most complicated and stormy ones in Hollywood industry. There was a time when Will, like the little child, cried inconsolably and he realized that he had married the wrong woman. Because of this fact, he felt lost and aimless, but destiny had something different special for him in store. So during that time, the friendship was born many years ago between Will and Jada and has always been something important for the actor. But due to his marriage to Sheree, they only remain friends. On Valentine's Day, people in relationships try to be as romantic as possible, right? Well, it seems like Zampino was just not having it that year. Why? Because she decided to ask for a divorce. Although their son Trey was a little baby, Will was taken by surprise, but he did all that he could to make things easier and facilitate the divorce process. And you probably know why. His feelings toward Jada had gone from friendship to something else. Like, he knew it, she was the one. When the divorce process finally ended, Will decided to seek out his old friend Jada. The actor didn't waste time and immediately went on a date with her. He asked her if she was dating anyone, and fate finally smiled at him because at that time Jada was single and lonely. When Smith heard her answer, he quickly said that she could now say that she was dating someone. Yup, him. Jada quickly fell in love with him and almost immediately moved in together. And yup, just a couple of years after that, they were already waiting for their first child together and Will's second son. This time things were not wrong, they were made for each other. But don't think that everything was so beautiful, cause like all couples, the Pinkett Smiths also went through their difficult times. However, Will always made it very clear that he did not want to repeat the patterns of his father who beat his mother when he was little. His rules were like this: never shout, never hit or lose your temper during a quarrel. And finally, if his loved ones decided to leave for any reason and even ask for a divorce, he will simply accept it. And Jada was a bit angry at first because she couldn't believe his approach to the partnership. But thanks to the rules of the actor, today, more than 2 decades later, they still have one of the most admired and solid relationships in the whole show business world. Now look, as I said at the beginning, I will tell you all about the residence where the Pinkett Smith family are protecting themselves from this pandemic. However, before we talk about this particular property, it's worth taking a short tour of many others that Jada and Will have acquired since they decided to unite their lives together in 1997. So it all began actually in 1998. Shortly after their wedding, the couple decided to buy their first residence in Pennsylvania. It's an authentic house covering almost 2,500 square meters for almost $1 million. Remember that we are talking about what was over 20 years ago, and in those days, this was a lot of money even for the stars. But their empire was just beginning to be built, and in 2003, the Smiths decided to expand their horizons and acquire a 5-bedroom, 6-bath house in the exclusive neighborhood of the Hidden Hills of California. And on that occasion, Jada and Will had to pay a little more since their new land cost them $3.4 million. And since 2017, this property is now the home of Jaden Smith, the couple's 21-year-old son. 8 years after buying these houses in the Hidden Hills, the Pinkett Smiths bought one more property, although according to reports, that was a little more modest since they barely had to pay $910,000. In fact, there are rumors that this house was actually bought for the use of their relatives and some other workers. But the Smiths family loved warm weather and waves. Who doesn't, right? So because they also decided to buy a property in Hawaii, this first one was built almost on 30,000 square meters of land. However, in 2011, they decided to sell it for as little as $20 million. And this was not their only acquisition, because in 2015, they bought several mansions in the same complex, which included their own tennis court, a 15-meter pool, and of course private access to the beach, all for $12 million. And now we finally come to what Pinkett Smiths called their safe haven and their real home. I do not need to explain, thanks to a fortune valued at $350 million, you can already imagine this modest residence in Calabasas, California. But before I tell you the value of this property, let's say something more about it. Okay, let's start our tour. A property with an area of 2,322 square meters, built on 150 acres of land, and has its own cinema, garage for 8 luxury cars, huge outdoor pool, its own basketball and tennis courts, and even has its own zip code. The queen of the house, Jada, has a special room for her disposal and comfort. Certainly, one of the many pleasures is meditation sessions in her own room, or just yoga exercises, or reading a good book out of hundreds that make up a family book collection arranged in elegant bookshelves. But all of this is not extremely rich decorations and relaxation rooms. Each family member is really hardworking, so for this reason, the house has its own recording studio in which both Will and his kids, Jaden and Willow, can unleash their imagination and talent to delight the millions of fans with their new music. So to earn without leaving home, the Smiths residence is also a recording location of popular Jada program Red Talk Table on Facebook. And after describing the main residence of the Smith family, what do you think of its price? The mansion is valued at $42 million. Well, in this case, quarantine is not that terrible, and it might actually be fun. I guess every time they go for a walk, they might find places they have never seen before, just like us. What do you think about the love story of Will Smith and Jada Pinkett? Do you believe in second chances and soulmates? Let's talk about that in the comments section, and remember to like and share and become part of our Curious Sips family by subscribing to our channel. Until next time.